Welcome to another edition of Cloud Chat with Stephan and Matt. I'm Stephan Stelter, and pleased to be joined by Matt Brown.
Hi, how you doing today? Hey, Stefan. So let's just kind of talk about a few things. What's top of mind lately? We just finished a fantastic quarter, but
Yes.
I do feel the climate of our customers is changing a bit. Are you seeing any changes in the environment? What are you seeing? And what do you think?
It's interesting how the questions that are dominating conversations seem to be around availability these days, which is
Really?
it's so shocking. This will blow your mind. We are in a time where some products are scarce.
Are you talking about
As you
supply chain availability?
Yes, indeed, the supply chain. We're certainly blessed with NetApp's recent performance, as you mentioned, and there's no small amount of that success that's attributable to our strategy to support cloud capability, and that, of course, ties directly into supply chain. If you can't get the compute or storage or network equipment for your on-premises infrastructure, what things can you transition to the cloud? This is Cloud Chat after all. So if we do think about public cloud in that context and the hyperscaler cloud providers, folks like AWS and Amazon, I'm sorry, AWS and Azure and GCP, you think about the ability to get those capabilities on demand instantly. Maybe we transfer some workloads to offload that on-premises workload, free up on-premises equipment to do the new thing that we're trying to do. Or maybe we start that new thing in the cloud. I think it ties into a lot of the other conversations we had as you think about what you should move and where you should move it.
I completely agree. It'd be interesting to see when you look back at the 6 months from now, looking back, how much of our peer groups have accelerated the migrations because of that thing. I have heard multiple IT shops having that type of conversation. But again, you have to be ready to be able to move. It's easy to kind of scale up for new stuff, but it doesn't help when you're trying to refresh assets, hold the older stuff. But I definitely
Yes.
appreciate that point of view. I completely agree. I was having a conversation, was it late Monday, I think it was, with Asia Pac folks. And I feel to some extent that different regions get hit in different ways. It feels like they are getting hit a little bit harder. And they were having this exact conversation. How can we help customers use this as a catalyst to advance their cloud causes?
Absolutely. When we go back and think about previous conversations around which applications to move and why, I come back to the $1 trillion paradox, and I've used it. I feel like I should get paid every time I say it because I say it so often. But just so poignant with the idea of let's think about things that are fast growth or unpredictable in their growth, and those are very appropriate for the cloud. And when we think about things that are steady state, those are much more suited to an on-premises environment. So I think the practical advice might be consider the things that are high growth in your environment, or could be high growth. Just you're changing that bar of what's the probability of high growth, and if it has some potential of high growth, let's move it to the cloud so we can free up on-premises capability if that's what we need to do in order to support a traditional stable workload that's just hitting its limits, and we're literally at the point where we need to support that 3% growth application with just a little bit more space or just a little bit more compute. Let's go free up one of those potential higher growth or less predictable workloads, move it into the cloud. But also like the conversations we've had about some of the workloads that NetApp IT has moved to the cloud, or ways that NetApp IT has engaged with resources that are running in the cloud to think about turning things off at certain times. Do you mind refreshing everybody of
Oh,
the kinds
yeah.
of infrastructure that we can actually turn off in the cloud that it wasn't intuitively obvious perhaps right at the outset? But
Well, so it's a very interesting conversation. And so just kind of a recap on that aspect. When we started moving our development workloads in the cloud, obviously transactionally cloud is more expensive. When we started adopting Spot, brought those costs down to a point to where we now, part of our data center strategy is to move that non-pod workload to the cloud And using an example that we did over the last holiday break, we actually turned some of those non-prod environments completely off. Imagine a world where if you're not using it, you can actually turn it completely down. In a pre-prod environment or a sub-prod environment, many cases, those environments are not used to their fullest potential, which means they sit idle probably the vast majority of the time. Even on our own use case, in fact, I was talking to a customer just US Thanksgiving holiday, a big bank, and they were saying that their utilization is probably around 20% of their subprod environment, which is pretty close to ours. Imagine your environment sitting 80% idle and managing moving to a model where I can pay as I go, even though transactionally it might be more expensive. The overall cost of operations actually has the potential to come down, and you can have for more flexibility to your developers. So we have about a 2-year plan to move all of our subprod to that public cloud model, not only to give flexibility, but ideally to bring down the costs.
You can certainly see that with that 80-20 view of things. If you're operational 20% of the time, even if that 20% of the time of operation costs twice as much as it would otherwise, if you're only using it that 20% of the time, it's
Yep. Well, and the first critique that you would face there is, well, you should be able to utilize that environment more. You have to, if you're building on-prem, and we all know this, you have to build the peak, right? That's the downside of building on-prem. You always have to build to the peak. And if you cannot operate at peak, that becomes a liability to you, to your point. So
yeah, so when you think about supply chain and you think about trying to optimize your assets and the housekeeping conversation, Matt, are there tools that NetApp IT uses internally to help identify those workloads and know where to start the housekeeping? Because that can be a bit of a struggle for customers.
Oh, most definitely. And again, as we were chatting, I think potentially a great way to help your customers before they enter that oh crap mode. Tools like On-Commit Insight, Cloud Insights can really help us understand where we're maybe under provisioned or over provisioned. Thin provisioning is always a great place to really strive for and manage to. The ability to look at what your archive strategy looks like. Are you holding too much, cold data in your environments? These visibility tools, specifically with CI, really gives you those capabilities to not only bring the visibility, but really make you think about how you're managing your overall global storage footprint.
Absolutely, and that's one of the elegant pieces of Cloud Insights for me. And I hate to have this turn into a product commercial, but in the interest of helping people solve some of their problems, Cloud Insights will look at storage infrastructure from NetApp gear and non-NetApp gear. It will look at compute infrastructure from any of the hypervisor providers, and it'll look at the hyperscale clouds as well. So it has the ability to hook in everywhere and give you a dashboard view for things like I think you call it shame back or charge back, show back, shame back. Right. Are those the three?
Yep.
Yeah. So those are great things. And you use dashboards with CI in Cloud Insights today to help instrument NetApp on NetApp.
Wait, and you called out a really interesting point too. Why you had mentioned that we're not necessarily having supply chain issues, but maybe some of our competitors are, because CI can see the entire footprint, vendor agnostic. It may also give you new sales opportunities to see how we can help fill those gaps where other vendors.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, it might be as simple as leveraging NetApp technology to free up space on your existing NetApp footprint, or it might be an opportunity, even if you don't own a lick of NetApp gear, to take a look at what you have and understand where the gaps might be or where there are opportunities for improvement, leveraging Cloud Insights.
Yeah, well, awesome. and now's the time to think about it before you get into that crap moment. Great.
Absolutely time. Right.
And you had pointed out security. Now you have security. Now you have another catalyst.
Indeed.
The potential supply chain.
Absolutely, and that there's that adjacency of Cloud Insights and a capability called Cloud Secure, which will look at NetApp file data and observe the way that users are interacting with those files and build some capabilities around user and entity behavioral analytics and determine whether a user is behaving in an anomalous fashion, and then execute a snapshot on a NetApp system to protect the data and give you a good point in time to do some further forensic work. So if a user's account gets compromised and starts doing some ransomware kinds of things, the capabilities of Cloud Insights extend into this cloud secure capability that I mentioned. So a nice way to leverage both of those conversations and hopefully be prepared ahead of time, as you described it, Matt.
Yep. Excellent. Excellent.
This conversation around supply chain in general reminds me of a conversation I had with a healthcare CIO, and bringing in something I don't know that we've talked about too much in our chats is AI. And when you think about artificial intelligence in a medical context, you think about the delightful examples of being able to look at X-ray or CT scan data and finding anomalies more accurately and with less error than a human operator. So training machine learning models to do some of that work that otherwise would have been done by we error-prone humans. But what was interesting about my conversation with this healthcare CIO is that we're a hospital. We're not a research hospital. We're a hospital. So you might ask, why AI? Where AI? And finally, Stephan brings it home to a supply chain conversation. They were using AI to figure out what supplies to order for which hospitals in the system,
there you go.
and how to get it optimally distributed and predict when demand was going to spike in different areas and make sure you have the right, I don't know, gauze pads. I'm not a clinician. I don't know anything about healthcare other than just kind of broad strokes. I know I can say things like Epic out loud, and I know how to log into my chart for medical stuff. But yeah, so I thought that was really interesting. So the AI use case, and then kind of coming back to what we're talking about with respect to applications and workloads and moving them, you wonder if we're going to train AIs to help us figure out which workloads we should work and move into the clouds, where and when to turn them on and off. Maybe I just designed Spot by NetApp to some extent. I think that's exactly what we do in many ways there, in a more generic approach.
Well, but you do have maybe a potential evolutionary step where you have this hybrid on-prem, hybrid off-prem, and based on some formulas of costing that things are moving on between on-prem and off-prem at different times of the day, maybe even different hybrid providers at different times of the day. But I think that's in the future.
Yes.
Well, I have a kind of along your supply chain topic, just a kind of point of I'd like to get your viewpoint on. Because of the supply chain problems, is this potential desire then to stockpile just going to amplify the working issue? So, for example, you just mentioned a great point. People are going to kind of now predict and probably overbuy. Isn't that overbuying just actually making our problem even potentially worse?
Yes, you wonder, does it impact the recovery? I'm not seeing that behavior myself from customers where they are overbuying. It seems that there's a desire, at least for the customers that I serve, that there's a desire to stick within the budgets that they've been given. Just because there's a scarcity in supply doesn't mean that miraculously our budget has doubled. At least again with the customers that I'm having conversations.
What about the more auxiliary types of, like getting more shelves? Have you seen any increase in people buying more shelves? Nope.
Well, so interestingly, just anecdotally, I've seen a couple of conversations where people are like, yeah, you know what, let's get me a quote for some more capacity. So I don't know if that is also straining the algorithms that are trying to determine the likelihood of somebody executing and buying a system. Just because a quote is in the system for a specific configuration, does that mean that there's, is the probability of that quote closing actually lower now because people are just trying to know, okay, what would this cost? They're trying to see if they can get the budget approvals versus actually getting it. So whether the order is placed or not, there could be supply chain implications in that, right? The AI models that look at how many parts companies need to buy to fulfill orders that they don't yet have. They're trying to guess, predict based on past history. We certainly find ourselves in that situation quite a bit as humans. When you try to figure out, well, how many people are going to attend an event that we're going to invite customers to tell them about our products, it's very difficult to use any historical benchmark on. Well, let's see, our historical response rate in 2019 was 20% of people who say they sign up show up or something. You can't do that anymore today.
Right.
You don't know. It's so geographically dependent based on regulations and other fun things.
So along those lines, do you see folks asking us, NetApp, for help maybe in better ways of looking at archiving, or do we see opportunities in terms of being able to get more visibility of the data, to maybe move their data to colder storage or take different advantages of thin provisioning? Do you see any changes of behaviors there because of this?
There is some conversations that we are involved in from a tiering perspective for sure. I think that's one of the almost the hidden benefits of ONTAP, so the NetApp storage operating system that powers most of our systems, as you well know, Matt. But when we first came out with the capability of tiering cold, infrequently accessed chunks of data on an ONTAP system, whether it's providing block storage or file storage, whatever protocol it's using on the front end, the constituent blocks that might be common between blocks and files that have been deduped and compressed, if they have been left idle or not accessed for a certain amount of user determinable time, we will tier them to the cloud. And that was, again, a feature that came out first on the all-flash FAS or AFF systems that we offer. But in subsequent releases of ONTAP, we made that available to spinning disk systems as well. So you can have a cold block on a spinning disk system, and we can tier that to a cloud provider. So another great way to free up space.
Oh yeah. Well, it seems like it seems like it should be a topic of all of our folks, both on the partner side and the sales side, in terms of opportunities to talk with customers, because some customers are in a pinch, right?
Absolutely.
And I've heard of customers waiting 4 to 6 months. And if you can't wait to 4 to 6 months, there are a lot of opportunities to maybe look at how you're doing housekeeping or how you're balancing those workloads, and maybe take more advantage of this thin provisioning. So it does seem like a great opportunity to at least have different alternatives to help customers out during this period of time.
You bet. You bet. And we have services that make the tiering, the management of the tiering dramatically simpler. So we have a capability with the cloud tiering service that helps customers make that happen in a very straightforward manner. So they're not stressing about it, trying to figure out how to make it work. The cloud tiering service will do that directly. Cloud.netapp.com allows customers to go check that out, log in, interact with on-premises systems, and tier data into the cloud. And I think that getting over that hurdle, that mental hurdle of, wait, it's spinning disk. Can I still tier? What should I tier in that context? And those, the no-brainer pieces are, you've got snapshots that are very old. Let's tier that data.
Exactly.
And then we think about the things that are very topical. Security is one of them. I think ransomware has been in the news for quite some time and gets a lot of airtime. But and almost hand in hand there, this idea of being efficient with your storage, knowing your storage better, that housekeeping that you mentioned. It's a great time to think about doing some role-based access control, or enabling multi-factor authentication, or any of the other fun things that we do to protect ONTAP systems from malicious internal threats. You can also, let's get some of that snapshot data moved to a cloud, so we can reduce the footprint that we're consuming on premises and free up some capacity for the other organic growth that's hopefully happening. So again, you can keep those, the snapshots that are there for security purposes, the 7-day snapshots, those can be left in the on-premises system and make sure they don't tier. And then you can choose to tier things that are beyond a given threshold of days, and let that get compressed, compacted, deduped, all of that stuff, all done ahead of time. And then we ship a collection of 4K blocks as a multi-megabyte object into the object store of your choice, the cloud of your choosing. So a lot of flexibility there.
So kind of along those lines, have you actually seen use cases where, because of the supply chain, kind of back to the original part of the first part of the conversation, have you seen actually use cases, people accelerating their cloud journey directly because of supply chain?
I have not yet. I expect it to be any moment. We've been very fortunate at NetApp that we've been blessed with a fairly robust supply for many products. Most of the ones with which I'm interacting are available, but we're doing the best that we can with those systems that are limited in nature, and we're working to make sure we're able to help customers meet their timelines as best that we can. Again,
Yeah, I would imagine
working
too, on-demand solutions like Keystone and stuff could also be a great alternative for folks who are waiting for hardware as well.
Yep. I wouldn't doubt that there's some options there. I wonder if we have priority supply in the Keystone side of things. I don't know
That
if
would
those
actually be
systems
very
have been
interesting.
pre-allocated. Yes. Yeah, you figure we're going to be deploying. So Keystone, for those who might not be aware, is an OpEx approach to NetApp capability, where customers are able to choose an amount of capacity and performance, and NetApp will deliver that on premises for the customer, and you pay for what you've signed
Okay,
up
what you
for
use, yep.
contractually, right? Yeah. Yes, there are some some limits and some floors on what constitutes the use of it. Are there? Yeah, I wondered, is that something that NetApp IT can look at? Would we consider a Keystone approach, or are we looking at CapEx for all of our
Actually,
implementations?
we work directly with the Keystone team to adopt the product specifically as a customer, go through the installs and the operational aspects, leveraging our experience there. So we've been intimately involved in that product line.
And developing the capability. Are you also on the consuming end of it?
We do have a
Okay.
consumption model
Oh,
that
nice.
we use. Again, obviously, always looking for different options on how we scale and manage our infrastructure. But yeah, we're definitely involved in that.
That's outstanding.
It is. It's always cool to be part of the new technologies. But the more I'm thinking about the supply chain, it's like this isn't going away anytime soon. So the things that should be always top of mind of how can how we're looking at stuff as a customer, how we're helping customers take this opportunity to look at their archiving. Their NetApp is great for thin provisioning, right? Great for ability to tier. These are great opportunities to start thinking about that before maybe you have an issue, right?
Yep.
But
That's a great point. That's good food for thought. I hope everyone enjoyed this session. Thanks so much for the chat, as always, Matt. Thank you all for listening to Cloud Chat with Stephan and Matt. We'll see you in the next episode.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.